For a few of us, cycling means taking it to the limit, riding at the edge of control in a wheel-to-wheel ballet of speed and motion, where talent, courage, and awesome thrills are the measure of success. For most of us, though, cycling is less intense, an inexpensive, enjoyable way to get around, to fool around, or just noodle around with family and friends. So why not ride along with us on our guide to safe cycling? And like any enjoyable trip, you'll have some fun along the way, as we take you through 5 entertaining and informative chapters that cover everything from taking off those training wheels to commuting in downtown traffic. So get ready for Gearing Up, a guide to safe cycling. Before we put foot to pedal, here's some cycling trivia for you. Of course, you already knew a bicycle is any two-wheeled vehicle propelled by pedals. Sure you did. But did you also know that some of the first bikes were more than 84 inches high? The pros know that to ride safely and get peak performance out of a bike, it needs to be perfectly tailored to fit the size and style of the rider. Well, that holds true even if you're a beginner. To determine if your child's bike frame is safe to ride, they should be able to comfortably straddle the bike frame while standing flat-footed. This is called safe straddle height. To find the correct adjustment for saddle and handlebars, the method is the same for riders of all ages. As you sit on the saddle, which should be level, and your heels on the pedals, your legs should be almost straight at the bottom of the pedal stroke. The saddle can now be adjusted to the proper height. Your saddle post and handlebar stems must be inserted at least 5 centimeters into the frame to prevent frame damage. Longer seat posts and stems are available if you need them. When checking handlebar height, a normal riding position should rest about 1/3 of your weight on the handlebars and 2/3 on the saddle. You can change the position of saddle posts and handlebar stems to prolong the life of an old bike. Of course, kids have a tendency to grow, which means eventually a bigger bike becomes the only solution. So which kind of bike should you buy? Well, there are plenty of bike styles on the market, everything from single-speed coasters and 12-speed racers to multi-speed mountain bikes. When it comes to mountain bikes, it's good to know that the term is used for both the real or sport kind, those meant to stand up to hard off-pavement use, and recreational bikes that look very similar but are meant for use in fairly civilized surroundings. But no matter what type of bike you're looking for, remember that quality bikes are designed and built with safety in mind. Here are a few more tips when choosing a bike. Look for a rugged frame with solid welds. The braking system, gear changer, and derailleurs should be of good quality from reputable manufacturers and installed correctly. And the wheels should be solidly built. When you spin the wheel, it should be well balanced and true, in other words, not wobbly. Look for easy adjustment and maintenance features as well. Well, that's the end of our first chapter. We hope you've picked up on some helpful hints because it's time for your first quiz. Here's how it works. A bike race is usually made up of several stages designed to test ability, skill, and endurance. In this video, you'll be able to ride your own race, which consists of these 5 stages: the desert, the canyon, the mountain, the valley, and the final sprint into the city. Each stage is a test of the cycling knowledge you'll gain throughout the video. Complete all 5 stages, and the race is yours. This race is open to competitors of all ages, so get ready and may the best cyclist win. Here's how to qualify for Stage 1. To get peak performance out of a bike, the bike should be one of the following. A. Motor-powered. B. Perfectly fitted to the size of the rider. C. Have 2 riders pedaling on it. D. Very expensive. Okay, time to make your selection. If you answered B, a bike should be perfectly fitted to the size of the rider, you're right. You get to ride the first stage through the scorching heat of running rubber desert. so called because it's hot enough to melt the tires right off your bike. Be sure to wear sunscreen, take plenty of water, and don't overdo it. There are still 4 more stages to go. Good luck! How fast can a bicycle go? Well, the unassisted speed record for a bike and single rider on a flat surface is 94.37 kilometers an hour. So Junior's ready to take a spin. Everything seems perfect. The handlebars are adjusted, the seat height's okay, but let's consider that head of his for a moment. It's strong and durable, sure, but no match for a hard surface like pavement. Before you mount up, let's talk about gearing up for convenience, comfort, and safety. This is Dr. David Wesson. His work over the past few years has led him to feel pretty strongly about helmets on cyclists. In fact, he's chairman of the Hospital for Sick Children Bicycle Helmet Coalition in Toronto.
As director of the trauma program at the Hospital for Sick Children, I've had to treat too many children who have been injured in bicycling accidents, especially the 5 to 14-year-olds who lack the experience and psychomotor skills to ride safely in traffic. As a result, an alarming number of Canadian children are injured in traffic accidents each year, and unfortunately, many die, mostly from head injuries. Although our trauma teams can do a lot to help children recover from injuries in general, head injuries often result in permanent damage. That's the bad news. The good news is a helmet can reduce the risk of head injury by as much as 85%. This is why wearing a helmet is so important. As you will see, not just any helmet will do. It must be an approved cycling helmet which is fitted and worn correctly. Cycling can be fun for the whole family, but remember to wear a helmet whenever you ride, and ride safely.
Approved cycling helmets for cyclists over 5 years of age are certified by one of the following: Canadian Standards Association, SNEL, or the American National Standards Institute. These standards ensure your helmet will fit well, feel good, and provide maximum protection. Make sure you choose a helmet that fits properly or can be adjusted to fit snugly. To fit and adjust your helmet correctly, follow the steps outlined in the instructions. First, inspect the straps to ensure they're attached correctly. Orient yourself as to the front and back of the helmet. Place the helmet on your head, making sure it doesn't sit too far back or too far forward. It should fit squarely and level. A correct fit can be achieved by adjusting the pads to ensure the helmet will stay on without the chin strap fastened as you move your head about freely. Adjust the side straps so they fit in front and behind your ear and meet at your jaw. Finally, fasten the chin strap, allowing enough room to move your jaw freely. And while we're talking about safety, cyclists on the road must follow the same traffic regulations as other road users. In addition, there are often special provincial laws or municipal bylaws governing cycling and cycling equipment. Be sure to check those out with your local police. Some recommended safety items include a bell or horn, a rearview mirror, the familiar triangular flash flag, and gloves, which cushion and comfort the hands and protect them in case of a fall. When riding at night, or even if you ride a half hour before sunset to a half hour after sunrise, it's vital that you should have a white front light and a red rear light or reflector. Reflective materials on both your bike and your clothing are also a good idea. If commuting by bicycle is your thing, lights, reflectors, gloves, and the rest assume even more importance. But you might also want to consider a water bottle, air pump, and lock. A repair kit for on-the-road quick fixes. Pant clips or reflective ankle bands are a good idea too. They'll keep your cuffs clean and out of the chain. You may also need a rack to carry a briefcase or a pannier to keep the load low. It also distributes the weight evenly for safe, balanced cycling. In fact, even weight distribution should always be considered when carrying anything on a bike. And that is especially true of precious live cargo. A child carrier like this, with the restraints correctly fastened, along with a specially designed helmet, provides snug protection for an infant. Remember, too, that a young hitchhiker changes the balance of the bike, whether you're riding it or walking it. And never leave the infant unattended in the carrier while the bike is on a kickstand or leaning against an object. Well, you made it through Running Rubber Desert in Stage 1 okay, but now it's time for Stage 2 of your race quiz. Ready? Here we go. A safe cyclist equips their bike with certain safety items if he or she is riding on roadways both during the day and evening. Which of the following isn't a recommended safe cycling item? A. A bell or horn. B. At least one brake system. C. Radio headphones. D. A white front light. Or E. A red rear light or reflector. If you answered C, you're right. Radio headphones are definitely not recommended safe cycling equipment. Well, you're on the way to Stage 2, but hey, watch that bridge. Just a little slip and you'll join those competitors who found out why they call this stage Bottomless Pit Pass, where unsafe cyclists come to rest in pieces. You made it! Good work! Did you know that the Tour de Lille, which has been running for the last few years in Montreal, attracts 40,000 participants of all ages, making it the world's largest registered bike ride as recorded by the Guinness Book of World Records? Life in the fast lane takes talent and skill. These guys are good, the best of the best, but most of them started just like this. Hey, remember how easy this was? Then comes that fateful day when the training wheels come off. No problem, right? Yeah, well, maybe before your little Top Gun is ready to head for the wild blue yonder, you might consider greener pastures first. A good place to get the beginning rider going is in a park on a gentle, open slope. By riding down the slope, a young rider can learn to balance and coast before pedaling, and the soft ground is forgiving when the occasional fall occurs. The basic element of bike riding is balance. Here are a few tips to help beginners gain control of their balance on a bike. Have your new cyclist practice getting on and off the bike until they can do it easily. With all young cyclists, it's a good idea to practice starting and stopping until it can be done without wobbling or swerving. Straight riding is safe riding, but this takes practice too, because the front wheel is turned back and forth for balance as the child rides. Have them try riding in a straight line. You can do this by laying down a piece of tape or drawing a chalk line in a driveway or unused parking lot. Show them how to ride without going off the line. First fast, then slow. You're only safe on a bike if you can stop when you need to. Have your child ride towards a spot on the ground. See if he or she can stop in a straight line at that point. With handbrakes, always use both brakes to stop or slow down. And remember, use the brakes to stop, not your feet. Feet are for balance after you stop. Shoulder checking is the safest way to check for overtaking traffic. Looking back while maintaining a straight line is an essential cycling skill. Mirrors let you know what's behind you. Shoulder checking tells you how far away and how fast those vehicles are going. Also practice turn signals and stop signals while maintaining a straight line. Skillful turning is important. Practice by running everyone through a slalom course. The child should lean in the direction of the turn and keep the inside pedal up so it doesn't hit the ground. This will teach kids how to dodge road hazards like rocks and holes. It's a good idea to practice quick stops as well. Have the child try to stop without swerving or skidding, because skidding takes longer to stop. So remember, the best stop is a controlled silent stop. Here's a tip. Your bike gears are there to help propel you quickly and efficiently, so choose a gear that allows your pedals to rotate or spin at 80 to 90 revolutions per minute. This is called cadence. You can ride all day like this because it's less strenuous on your muscles and knees. Okay, here are 3 questions that make up the third stage in your race quiz. Answer true or false to the following 3 questions. A. True or false? When turning, lean in the direction of the turn with the inside pedal up. B. True or false? It takes longer to stop if you skid. C. True or false? When stopping, use your brakes, not your feet. If you knew that the correct response to all 3 questions is true, good for you. You win the opportunity to take part in the grueling 5,000-foot ascent of the Fire in Your Thighs mountain climb. But remember, what goes up must come down. Make sure the coast is clear, and see you at the bottom for the next stage! Did you know that in 1991, Bill Narasnik of Sudbury, Ontario, crossed Canada on a bicycle in a record-breaking 13 days, 9 hours, 6 minutes, and 10 seconds, covering a total of 6,032 kilometers? Wouldn't it be great if there were only bicycles on the road? Think of it, no traffic jams. Well, maybe that's not such a good example. But speaking of good examples, there you are, all well instructed in the art of modern bike riding. Mom and Dad looking good, everybody ready to hit the road for a day trip. You've got it all planned, know exactly where you're going. But what about the other folks you'll meet along the way? You know, the traffic you'll be sharing the road with? Are you sure they'll clearly understand what you're doing? Do you know what to do as you share the road with others? Well, let's get on the road, safely, beginning with a few words from a road safety expert.
The law states, if I'm riding a bike, I must obey the rules of the road, whether at work or at play. As a police officer on a bicycle, I'm a role model. When you ride a bike, you can become a role model and set a good example for others to follow. As a cyclist, I ride safely, I use the proper equipment, not only for my bike, but for myself. But that's only half the story. To avoid conflicts between cyclists and drivers, obey the rules of the road and you'll enjoy cycling even more. Bicycle safety, it's everybody's responsibility, today as well as tomorrow.
The Traffic Act defines the bicycle as a vehicle. Riding on the road means mixing with other traffic. This is only safe when all traffic uses the same rules of the road. That way, your actions are predictable. Drivers can anticipate your moves and plan accordingly, and you can do the same. Remember this, all good cyclists drive defensively and signal all the time. Left arm straight for a left turn. Left arm bent upwards for a right turn. Left arm bent downwards for a slower stop. Bicycles are special because they are narrower and slower than most other vehicles. As a result, there are 2 rules all cyclists should know. 1. Slower traffic stays right. And 2. Slower traffic must give way to faster traffic when safe and practical. In practice, that means riding on the right. Where there are no parked cars, ride far enough away from the curb to avoid sewer grates and other debris. Where there are parked cars, ride at least 1 meter away from them to avoid opening car doors. Always ride in a straight line. Don't swerve in and out of spaces left between parked cars. You'll be lost from the sight of following drivers. In urban areas where a curb lane is too narrow to share safely with a motorist, it's legal to ride in the center of the lane. When changing lanes, remember that vehicles in the other lane have the right of way. You must wait for an opening. To move left, shoulder check to see what's coming up behind you. Signal for your move left, shoulder check again to find an opening. If possible, make eye contact to ensure you've been seen. Then move quickly to the right-hand side of the new lane as soon as it is safe to do so. Large vehicles have large blind spots. Stay out of them. If you can see the driver's eyes in his mirror, he can see you. Be careful at intersections, parking lots, or other congested areas. That's where most mishaps occur. The rules you ride by at intersections should apply to all other congested areas as well. Watch for pedestrians and yield to them. At three-way and four-way stop intersections, the vehicle on the right, your right, has the right of way. At busy intersections, becoming a pedestrian is an option you may want to consider. Get off your bike and walk it across the crosswalk. Railroad and streetcar tracks can catch your wheels and cause a crash, so always cross tracks at right angles, or walk your bike across them. Surface problems like holes or loose gravel, wet weather, and so on can cause you to lose control, so watch for these problems and take care. Now it's time for another quiz. In almost any bike race, turns and lane changes are where the risk of injuries is highest. The same is true on city streets, and that's why shoulder checking is so important. Here are some advantages to shoulder checking when lane changing. See if you can recognize which one doesn't belong. A. Shoulder checking establishes speed and position of overtaking traffic. B. With shoulder checking, you can determine if the lane is clear. C. Shoulder checking helps exercise your neck muscles. D. Shoulder checking helps to make eye contact with other drivers. If you answered C, good for you. A, B, and D all belong as advantages to shoulder checking. And you qualify for Stage 4, the rolling hills of gear-changing valley. As a safe cyclist, always be on the alert for the unexpected, like jaywalking sheep. Nice avoidance technique. Not bad at all. Boy, talk about cycle trivia. Here's one to amaze and stump your friends. Although the first working bicycle was built in 1839 or so by Kirkpatrick Macmillan of Dunfree, Scotland, the first design was dreamed up by Leonardo da Vinci way back in 1493. Every professional knows the value of a well-maintained bike. That just doesn't mean for the cycling season, but for the off-season as well. At some point, you'll be storing your bike for a few days, weeks, or months. When you do so, always store them inside, away from moisture and temperature extremes. Even after a short storage period, in fact before every ride, you should run through this pre-ride check. Check tire pressure. Bounce the bike and listen for rattles. Squeeze the brake levers to ensure they don't stick or that the cables need adjusting. With the brakes fully applied, rock the bike back and forth. If there's any movement in the headset, you'll need to adjust it. Check to see the quick release latch or axle nut is secured. After an extended storage period, say in the spring, a more extensive checkup is required. Begin by doing everything you did before, plus the following. Wipe down the entire bike with a damp rag. Look for cracks in the frame, rim, and cranks. Check that the seat post, handlebar stem, and axles are tight. The derailleur should move easily when you shift, and there shouldn't be any slack in the cable. The cable barrel adjuster, or a similar device, will keep the cable at the proper tension. Inflate tires to the recommended pressure as shown on the tire. Check for loose, bent, or broken spokes. Oil the chain. Be sure to wipe off any excess oil with a cloth. If you discover anything you can't solve yourself, take your bike in for professional repair before you ride it. Now for the last stage in your race quiz. The key to winning any race is to keep your bike in top shape and treat it well. The same holds true for your bike if you want years of fun from it. So here's your final question. Which of the following statements are true or false? A. Always store your bike outside. B. Chains don't need to be oiled. C. After extended storage, let all the air out of your tires. And D. A pre-ride check is necessary before every ride. How'd you do? If you said D is true and the rest are false, you're right, and a true cyclist. The pace setter in the final stage of the race as you ride past the cheering crowds of the city. Great race! You've covered a lot of ground in a very short time, and done it with style, with grace, and in perfect safety. Now, imagine all the fun, enjoyment, and exercise you're going to get now that you've met the Safe Cycling Challenge. And why not take the time to review these chapters throughout the cycling season to refresh your memory and to become a better, safer cyclist? As you and the whole family gear up for safe cycling.